Close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and imagine your dream family home. For some people, you may be envisioning a house on top of a cliff top overlooking an ocean view. For others, it may just be the white picket fence for the kids to play backyard cricket. Sadly, even both of these scenarios have now become out of reach for the majority of Australians. Even for us, the younger generation. We can thank interest rates, population growth, and foreign investors for increasing housing prices by 6.8% or 5.9% for units annually over the last 2.5 decades. Thankfully, now that the Australian market has had a minor correction, we have a small window of opportunity to still achieve our dream of owning our own home. We can now attend auctions without property investors bidding at a faster rate than the auctioneer can actually count, or the fear of missing out causing us to overpay. We can now take our time to assess properties individually. We just may need to realign what our dream home is to something more accommodating to the current market and the recent trends. Apart from the accomplishment of owning your own home, a secondary benefit, or primary if you're an investor, for owning residential property is to accumulate high capital growth annually. And the property market is no different to any other economy. It's purely driven by supply and demand. So let's discuss how to not get caught at either end of the spectrum. Firstly, let's go over what to stay away from. Apartments. Apartments are generally built within close proximity and in large numbers. This creates a huge oversupply in the market, and there's generally not much variation between floor plans. They may seem like a cheaper alternative to get into the market, but when it comes time to reselling or refinancing, you're going to be competing with and bound by every other apartment in the same complex or similar apartments in the area. With a constant surplus of competing apartments, it's hard for you to get more than the minimum annual growth. In the worst case, this will only trail inflation, or it could even decrease in price. If buying an apartment or a unit is an absolute must, try to stick to complexes that only have 5 to 10 buildings in them and have low annual strata fees. House and land estates. Now these seem to be all the rage for first home buyers, and from the outside they look very attractive, but they can easily trap you into a false sense of capital growth. These large estates are controlled and they're released in individual stages. For example, let's say stage 1 just has been released, with 12 blocks on it and they're selling them all for $320,000 each. Once all 12 blocks are sold, they'll plan to release stage 2, and this could only be 3 months later. And they've decided that stage 1 sold so fast that they're now going to sell the blocks for $340,000 each. This may look like a quick $20,000 capital growth, but really, it's just a demand-driven price increase, and it's not sustainable at that rate. With this mentality, your block would be worth $48,000 and increase by 50% in only 2 years. But wait, it's not over yet. In 3 years' time, when you decide to resell because you want to upgrade, they'll just be releasing stage 12 of the estate. All the new home buyers that want to buy in that estate would much rather buy something brand new than your house that's now 3 years old, which is going to make your house harder to sell and could even devalue it. Reverse living. These type of floor plans are relatively cheaper than the typically built equivalent, and for a good reason. They generally have a great disconnect between certain areas of the dwelling, causing an awkward flow or an unused feeling to certain spaces. Constantly having to go up and down the stairs throughout the day makes them really undesirable for elderly and young families. This cuts out a big chunk of the market when it comes to resaleability. Now, what to focus on? The simplest and most valuable saying that I have heard in property is that material depreciates over time while land appreciates over time. Now, when I talk about material depreciating over time, I'm talking about the brick and mortar house you're about to purchase. In the property game, land is always going to be king. And if you're happy to move out a little bit further to sit on a bigger block of land, it's going to be a great long-term investment, especially if you're not intimidated by doing a renovation. This could actually turn into a little gold mine for you, and you could actually renovate some of your dream home features into your new house. If you want to stay closer to the city or close to family that live in wealthier areas, townhouses are an ideal alternative. Especially if you can find one with a garage to at least store some stuff in, and a nice courtyard or decking area to host on. Although townhouses generally get hit harder in tougher markets, they bounce back and stabilize quite quickly. Even at the peak of the market between mid-2016 and late 2017, units in townhouses were being approved for construction at the same rate as houses nationally, sitting at around 10,000 units per month. This is the first time in recorded data since 1989 that units and houses were being approved at the same rate, and it's not going to be the last. My best advice is to find properties actually worth their market value and negotiate down from there. If they're listed for less than their market value, it's generally too good to be true. An extra $10,000 or $20,000 up front now is nothing in comparison to 3 years of capital growth, and it should be retained when you go to resell the property. As always, seek your own professional financial and property buying advice for your current situation. If you want more content like this, subscribe, hit the like button, and until next time, happy house hunting.